All right. So I'll start with the meeting as we don't have an official chair as the village's liaison to the committee. I'll just kind of get us kicked off until we have an official chair, just from a Robert's rules and just a nice, good standard meeting practice. So I'll call this meeting to order at 2:02 p.m. and with a roll call, it looks like we have. I'm here. Rick Osa.
Yes.
Tom Hood.
Right.
Shelley Lazarus.
Yes.
All right, perfect. And then, so we have a quorum. We also have Catherine Gale here, or Gale. She is our MPA intern with the village. She's doing a master's degree program at Northern Illinois for her public administration degree. So she's been doing a lot of the background research and analysis for this committee. So she'll be helping us as another staff liaison. So looking into public comment, doesn't look like we have any members of the public on, but we are open to public comment. Seeing none, working into new business. So our first just order of business as a new committee would be appointing a chair. Just, you know, both myself and Catherine are ineligible to be the chair of the committee as staff members and not official members of the committee. So I'll yield the floor right now to any recommendation for nomination of a chair and then approval of a chair.
Well, I don't know anybody. So it makes it difficult, but.
I'll volunteer to be chair if you guys are willing to support me in that.
I second that nomination.
Thanks.
All right, so I guess any objections or any other recommendations? All right, a motion to approve. We have a second. So motion by Tom Hood, second by Rick Osa to appoint Tom as the chair of the Environmental Sustainability Commission. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Now
All right.
Tom is officially the chair. I will hand it off. I apologize that that's always a little awkward, but it's just good meeting practice.
No, I agree. I think that's good. So we just go to item 4 and like to go around, and we did a little bit of this, but to introduce yourself and tell just a little bit about yourself and your interest in the environment, if there's a specific thing you're interested in or generally. And why don't we start with you, Shelley, right? Call you Shelley, is that okay?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I'm about a 24-year resident of Gurnee. I'm an attorney by trade, sort of semi-retired from that and working on other projects. I'm always passionate about the environment and the elderly, and animals. So those are my 3 areas that I am passionate about. Got several ideas. I don't know if you want to get into them now, but
really more of an introduction about yourself, and then we can get into like
that's
areas.
me. It's me, my husband, and my dog.
There you go. Okay, thanks, Shelley. How about you, Rick?
Rick Osa. I been working in the environmental field for 40 plus years. Primarily air quality, but also environmental management and a bit of sustainability. The firm I'm working for, Environmental Resource Management's tagline is the business of sustainability. So while I may not be up on all of it, I know guys. So I have done some sustainability work for municipalities, carbon footprinting and benchmarking. So I do know my way around some of that, and lived in Gurnee for I think a total of maybe 6 months, but my kids all went to District 56 in Warren, and right now I'm living in Lake Villa, but we were in Wadsworth and Waukegan, so Gurnee's always been at the middle of geographically for us.
Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. How about you, Jack?
Yeah, so my name's Jack Linehan. I'm the assistant to the village administrator for the village of Gurnee. I have kind of just some general interest in environmental sustainability, working on a couple of different projects here. I'll actually go over some of the stuff we've done in the past. So my role here in the village is pretty wide, pretty broad, kind of an everything and anything. And I've been with the village now for over 5 years. So
Wow. Wow. So now is Catherine, is she there? Jack?
Hi there.
Oh, there you are.
Yes, I started interning with the village in August last year, 2019, I believe. And I kind of work on just a variety of different things, a lot of communication things, working on FOIA requests, and just kind of doing internal research for different projects that come up.
Okay, thank you very much. And so my name's Tom Hood, and I am I'm vice mayor of Gurnee, and actually I'm running for mayor come April. I'm an attorney in town. I've been an attorney for 35 years. I work with my son, and my interest in the environment, I think, probably has sprouted mostly from ETO. I think has probably revealed probably an area that I'd like to spend some more time on, to get out in front of things instead of being reactive, and being informing the public, and instead of just being on the negative side, being on the positive side. So hopefully that's what we can do. So other than that, we can go to reviewing past environmental sustainability initiatives. And Jack, you want to take us through that?
yeah, so just as we kind of start to set the groundwork of what we've done before, and I don't want to get down the road of we've always done it this way, that's how we'll continue doing it, but just to give some ideas, just especially with new committee, of what we've done in the past as a village, some of our initiatives, and kind of why this is important. So back in 2016, the village approved a 5-year strategic plan. So that's actually coming up in May 2021 is the technical expiration of that plan. The vision statement at the time, and one of the items that was a top priority, was number 4, was to regularly employ green initiatives in village operations and encourage them throughout the community as part of protecting our valuable land and beautiful open spaces. So a key item for the village board, it's kind of remained something that they want to see done. So a few of the projects that we've done recently in the last couple of years. So the village, we've been migrating our entire streetlight system from essentially halogen lamps to LED. We have 1,700 Village of Gurnee owned streetlights in the village. That's only about half. The rest of them are ComEd owned. Of those 1,700, 1,450 have been transitioned over to LED. So we're almost complete with the program. Actually, this year was the last year of the LED transition. It actually was put on hold just due to COVID and financial impact to the village. So it was one of the things that we did hold off on as a non-critical capital item. But the remaining streetlights are scheduled most likely to be replaced next year. In total, it resulted in a reduction in energy consumption by 40%. So we're seeing significant savings. It's kind of a win-win. And this was part of our general replacement. So what we're doing is, rather than just going through, taking perfectly good light bulbs and poles and removing them, as they come up for expiration, as they start to get old, we're replacing them with LED. So trying to do it in a kind of a smart approach. The other part too is, so ComEd has an energy efficient program. The Village of Gurnee, actually, for all of our non-commercial accounts, so not streetlights, not for our water pumping, but just for our buildings and other uses, we actually don't pay electric. It's essentially given to us as part of our ComEd agreement. To kind of ComEd's in the community, they in turn provide us free electricity. But we've still been working on an efficiency program, just from a green initiative, to increase our efficiency of all of our facilities. We still have a few facilities left to go. Our public works facility is completely LED. Village Hall is nearly, but other facilities, that's an opportunity to move forward with more LED lighting. Another big initiative that had been done in the past, so for the 2016 strategic plan, walkability was a huge issue in the plan. It was one of the #1 recommended improvements in the community. People wanted a more walkable community. Shelley is, you might know as a longtime village resident, or Tom. Sometimes, you can get around your neighborhood, but getting from your neighborhood to another neighborhood to, especially the business district, can be really difficult. It was built essentially to be a suburban community. So sidewalks were definitely not a top priority in the 90s and 2000s, and now it's something residents want. So this committee developed a plan. It took about a year to develop. It was a similar committee to this. We got our plan adopted in 2017. Since then, we've had some major wins for the committee and improvements, including access to Rollins Savannah. And then also we're going to be connecting the Washington Street Trail at Hunt Club. It just ends essentially, and they're going to be redoing that intersection. We'll have that connection done next year. The issue with these is it's extremely expensive to implement millions and millions of dollars worth of pedestrian improvements. So it's going to be a long-term plan. So it's a little bit funding limited, but we're continuing to work towards this as a improvement so people have alternatives to vehicles in the community. And then the other, probably our largest improvement that we've done, honestly, was one of the easiest improvements we've done. So in 2018, we moved our electric aggregation program, where essentially we go out to bid for all of Gurnee's electric consumption for residents. In the past, we would go with the lowest bidder. So we'd always pick whoever the lowest bidder was. They were our new company to work with. In 2018, ComEd was the lowest bidder. So rather than go with a third-party company, we were considering going with ComEd. But a third-party company called MC Squared created a program where they offer 100% renewable energy at ComEd's matching rate. Now, it goes way further than the committee wants to hear for 15 minutes on how they're able to do that. But we went into that program in 2018, made that transition. So for Gurnee's energy consumption for residents, 100% of our energy, unless you opt out, is renewable. And the impact of that, so for the first year of the program, average impact was 90,453 kilowatt hours is what we saved for renewable energy credits that were purchased through the village. So the equivalent of that, to see what the CO2 reduction would be, was 171 million miles driven by average passenger vehicles that we saved off the road, or 76 million pounds of coal burned. So talking about a pretty substantial program that we were able to do with minimal impact. That was one that definitely had a big, big improvement on efficiency. So as with this program too, it's recognized by the EPA under their Green Power Communities Initiative. Village of Gurnee, we're one of the top 100 communities in the country recognized by the program for the past few years. So we just got our renewal of the program, and so we're continuing to be a top green power community. So we have new signs going up throughout the village stating that we're a green power community. So it's one of our big programs. Just one last one I'll highlight real fast. So we started switching over to eco-friendly salts. So moving over to using of beet heat and other more environmentally friendly salting approaches, using considerably less salt than we used to use, and using pre-treatments to reduce the amount of salt waste. And that has a big impact on our rivers, our waterway systems. And so that's been a big improvement we've done over the last 10 years. So those are a few of the items I just wanted to highlight, just to give a historical perspective on some of the village's approaches to sustainability initiatives.
Hey,
Thanks,
Jack. Question there. Sounds like you hit most of the top considerations. One thing I didn't hear is the village's vehicle fleet. Do you have many vehicles?
We have quite a few vehicles. I don't have the total numbers, but we have probably 35 squad cars, maybe 10 community development vehicles, plows, quite a wide range of them.
Okay, so maybe 50, 60 total. So there might be some opportunities there. And I know North Shore Sanitary District takes care of the wastewater, and they're a separate organization. Does the village, do you handle the potable water? Water supply?
Yeah, so we purchase water from CLC Jawa. So essentially our water comes from Lake Michigan. So it's purchased through a joint cooperative with other local Lake County agencies that we all kind of purchase the water through that central buying.
Okay, because when I did carbon footprinting of a community, I was amazed at how much energy water pumping consumed. It just blew me away. I never think of it. So I was really surprised at that. And in that case, they were able to convert to variable speed drive pumps and motors and stuff. And they, I think, saved 2%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but since it was such a large number to begin with, even that was really significant.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I haven't heard that for water supply. I mean, I know where you're going with the sanitary sewer, that they are massive power generation plants too, essentially.
Yeah. Does the village have some backup generators too, I presume, for the police and fire? And
yeah, most of our critical facilities are generator backup. Even our police station, actually, they're going to a double generator system. So just because of the communication to the 911 center, the last thing you want is 911 to be not on the other end of the line when you dial.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, generators. To your earlier question too, with our fleet. So our fleet, we have no hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles in the village fleet. So it's not something we've had in the past.
And at Village Hall, you got some place for me to plug in my Bolt? No?
Not yet. Our police station, they're looking at it. They were looking at grant opportunities and other things, but yeah, no village, public sector, public access electric car vehicle stations. I know some of the private businesses have implemented them, but I don't think any village or public buildings have.
All right. Anything else on that? So the next item, 4C, is the goal setting initiatives. So Shelley, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that you're interested in? I think that might fit into this area if you're willing.
Well, sure. One of the things that I'm interested in that got me hooked up with Vice Mayor Hood was I had written a letter about styrofoam recycling, and that you cannot, it's waste management doesn't take it at the curb. And the closest place to recycle styrofoam with the number 6 is in Highland Park. So when I happened to buy a television set that was just stuffed full of styrofoam, I just couldn't bring myself to throw it in the trash. So I saved it, and eventually, on their limited schedule, I drove it down to Highland Park, and I thought, well, there should be someplace closer for the people in Lake County who live at the northern end versus the southern end. So I brought that to the mayor's attention. I brought it to our state representative's attention, to the Lake County board's attention. And the only person who responded back to me was Mr. Hood. So thank you for, so I've researched it. The other place you can take it, and they will take any kind of styrofoam, is Apt Electronics. And in light of the fact that everybody is eating out and no one wants to take the little popcorns, but they will take clean cups and containers. So one thing I would like to see is a facility somewhere in the northern part of Lake County, perhaps Gurnee, to collect styrofoam. And I guess it's a relationship built between the village or whatever and DART. They are the big recyclable people of styrofoam. And that was one thing that was bothering me. I would
Okay.
like to, that was it. And the other thing, well, there are many things, but I worked with the park district to get some recyclable containers in some of the parks, local parks, and now they put in permanent fixtures, and that's nice. I just think that there needs to be some real education to the public of what's recyclable, what's not. I'm still confused of what goes and what doesn't go, and so we don't have to contaminate a whole good portion of recyclables with things that are not recyclable. Those are
Yeah.
two things.
Yeah. Well, I'm really, that last one especially, I think that's like, to me, is like looking for low hanging fruit in terms of, we don't have to come up with a site, we have to come up with information, and then Jack happens to be in charge of our communication through the village. So it's like, we've got the right guy to think about how we could communicate that to the rest of the residents in terms of how do you recycle, what do you recycle, you know, all those FAQs, I think, that need to be out there through all the different channels. Because you're right, I don't know myself. I mean, I know some things definitely should be in that one green bucket that I've gotten on the side of my house, and some things shouldn't be. But there's some things I don't have a clue, so.
And some of the plastics that have the recycling symbols and you think they're good, but they are not. So either finding places that will take that or just informing people better.
Yeah, I'd like that as a goal for us to educate the citizens of Gurnee on that issue. That would be great. I think that's a great project for us to undertake.
I can see if there's a Gurnee Days in 2021, Shelley manning the booth along with SWALKO,
I'm there.
handing out refrigerator magnets and instructions on what waste goes where.
Yeah, that's a good idea. There you go. Rick, how about you? Anything in particular that you've got a specific interest in to see us accomplish?
Not a specific interest. I've got quite a few thoughts, and I guess I would like to look at it more holistically. Yeah, it's nice to do the right thing, and but sustainability can be such a a win-win-win kind of situation. A lot of companies, for a variety of reasons, are very motivated to locate in green communities. Either because if they're involved in consumer products, that's gotten to be very important. In addition to wanting to do the right thing, I love hearing about the green power aggregation. I wasn't aware of that, and that's something that can and should be a real important thing for both residential folks as well as potential commercial and industrial citizens. So that would be good. A lot of the things that are going on or that are possible, like in the seems like the vehicle fleet, there's some low-hanging fruit there. I imagine this Catherine probably can churn out a really good grant proposal. Is that true?
I could work on that.
Okay. As I know, there's, it's probably not a big deal to put an electric vehicle charger in front of Village Hall, but it sends a very specific message to folks that, you know, you want to attract to the community, both residentially and commercially. So that's, those are some things that can be done. The material that was sent around about some of the other Lake County communities seems like maybe they're a little bit ahead of Gurnee. And I don't know that we should be self-conscious about it, but there are some things that probably should be done. I think probably an initial village carbon footprint is something that everyone does, but it if the environmental there used to be an environmental group at Warren. Forget I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MEC, yes.
Right,
Mother.
but oh
Yeah.
yeah. But you know,
Sure.
if they could be guided through doing a carbon footprint for the village as a class project, that's something that's pretty easy to do, and you know, it hits a number of buttons. So things like that would interest me.
I really like that last one of connecting with the high school, and it doesn't mean that we have to do all these things. It's more like facilitating to see that they happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I like that.
The village would have to, you know, provide their open their books on electrical use, but that's not a big deal. So yeah, those are some things that can certainly be done.
All right, thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. So those are more, I guess, so some specific and general ideas for goal setting. I think to get off the ground, I guess, maybe it might be helpful for us, each one of us, to sit down and maybe shoot an email out with some other ideas instead of just coming off the top of our head today. And then maybe at our next meeting, we'll maybe say, like, within, you know, a couple of weeks, if we would share an email about some more specific ideas, or just reiterate the things you're interested in. And then at our next meeting, maybe we could pick one or two of those things to pursue. So we're not just talking about it, you know, we're actually taking action to whatever that might be. I mean, because as a committee, we're a recommending body, so we're not, the village board would ultimately make final decisions, but as far as communicating to the public, that wouldn't really run necessarily through the village board, but it would be something that would run through Jack. So Jack, you have some, based on what you heard, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think it's a lot of good ideas. I mean, Shelley's points about consumer education of recyclables is a huge issue right now. The recyclable market has really changed in the last few years. China is no longer accepting as much as they used to. So Waste Management, our provider, they're more and more pinched that, you know, the market isn't as profitable as it used to be. So when you have contaminated recycling, it's best to just for them to get rid of it. And so they've changed their model, which it used to be when in doubt, recycle it. Now it's basically when in doubt, throw it out, just because they're so worried about the contamination issue. So I think there's a huge opportunity for communication with residents there, education, and then also some other opportunities for different recyclable drop-offs. Luckily, the private sector, one thing we've saw, and not just in styrofoam, but in some of the other areas, has really stepped up in the last few years with, you know, providing different areas where you can drop things off at. So like a good example is almost all the pharmacies now will accept drugs as a return, where before it was up to, you know, government agencies to collect it. So one of the ideas behind that is, you looked at APT in Glenview taking styrofoam, trying to work with our business community to see if, you know, they accept recyclable materials and if they could accept, you know, styrofoam. So like whether it's Best Buy or some other, you know, entity wanted to kind of be the champion of that. So I think those are great ideas. And then also to Rick's point about a carbon footprint analysis, you know, looking at that opportunity, and then also the Warren Environmental Club, all really good ideas. So I think we can definitely take some of that and whatever direction the committee gives, Catherine and I can take it and kind of compile it, and whatever comes out of it as like a work product, if it's a report or something to the village board, we're happy to work with you.
Okay.
Couple thoughts came to mind. One is just on recycling. What's the interrelationship between the municipalities and SWALKO? Do you fund SWALKO, or is that independent? How's that work?
Yeah, so we are a member of SWALKO, so we're a voting member with the village. We have 2 representatives on essentially the board. So they're an agency out of Lake County, but they're also managed through the municipalities as the partners of the agency. So we're voting members. We do pay a portion, I believe I want to say around $30,000 a year for Gurnee to be SWALKO members. Now in turn, we receive quite a bit of funds back from being in SWALKO. Not that much, but for some of our recyclables and other things, we do get compensated in that regard. But yeah, it's about a $30,000 fee from my understanding. And so we work with SWALKO. They're our main resource. I mean, there's so much more, they know so much. So if we run into residents who aren't sure where to recycle stuff, we work with SWALKO. And they're always there to help if we need stuff. So they're a great resource.
Okay. And the other thing that occurs to me is that traffic and traffic congestion has a number of aspects, but some of them are very directly environmentally and air quality related. You've got congestion, you've got a lot of idling of cars and stuff. And so the civil engineers have ways to try and reduce congestion, keep traffic moving more smoothly, reduces air emission, reduces energy consumption, and plus people get to where they're going more quickly. But again, I don't know how the jurisdictions work. There are county roads and village. Does the village have roads? Or, I mean, like Grand Avenue, who's in charge of that mess?
I got for that
Yeah.
one. So yeah,
Yeah,
the village, we do maintain, I'm sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead.
I should say we do maintain roadways. So most of the residential roads in Gurnee, so if it's any side road, essentially, it's usually the village. If it's houses are on it, couple exceptions, but like our largest roads like Almond Road or Data, those are some of the large ones. So we do the traffic actual control. A lot of it is the county. So Lake County Department of Transportation, they control most of the signals through the area. So they have technicians essentially that monitor kind of the traffic patterns, and they can kind of do tweaks to it. But our engineers are able to make recommendations if they're seeing things that need to be tweaked.
Okay, and I presume if there's a major intersection rebuild, you folks can provide comments and suggestions and such, because now they embed the sensors so that the signals are smart, I think. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, our engineers, I mean, it depends on what it is. If it's a state or an IDOT road, it's limited in what their input is. But, if it's a county and a village road that meet up together and they're redoing it, we definitely have a lot of input in that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Right. So if we could, if you guys are in for sharing emails over the next couple weeks of just some things that you're interested in, so that I think some of this we would have captured in the meeting itself, but Shelley or Rick, or if there's some couple of items like Shelley with the styrofoam and with the education, and if you want to flesh that out a little bit with some thoughts, and then maybe we could take a look at them next time and pick one or two of them to pursue in a more meaningful way. That way, that's, like I said, we just don't talk about it. We actually have some action plans. So does anybody have any, I think our next item is just when our next meeting date's going to be. Does anybody have any other thing of substance that they wanted to talk about as far as the environment is concerned? We're good. So Jack, any suggestion on the next meeting date?
No, I mean, we're open to what works best for everyone. You know, saying how often we want to meet too, I think is an important one too. I mean, do we want to do monthly? Is that probably the best, or does that, you know?
Yeah, why don't we start with that and then see how our workload goes? That doesn't seem that as cumbersome, but it also allows us to keep in touch. So how does everybody else feel about that?
I think the first Wednesday in every month works out well for me.
Okay, Shelley, how about you?
You're on mute, Shelley.
Oh, there. I thought my thumb was a thumbs up. Yes, that's fine. Oh, you can't
Yep.
see me, guys. Sorry.
No. Okay, so then first Wednesday, we're going to use 2 p.m. as a start time of the month. Is that good for everybody, Jack? That work for
Yeah,
you?
to throw my own wrench in it. I know I was the one who scheduled this date.
Oh.
Does the second Wednesday work for everyone? Is there any difference to anybody?
That'd be fine with me too.
That's fine with me.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah, the only reason I say that, the Lake County Health Department, we have our COVID-19 calls at 2 o'clock every first and third Wednesday, and I forgot.
That sounds like an important one to be in.
It is decently. So we have other staff that are on it, but if possible, I should be on those ones as well. So if you guys don't mind, second would probably work a little bit better.
That's fine. So then our next meeting would be the second Wednesday in January. If we could just exchange emails between now and then we'll have an agenda that we can talk about more specific items if everybody's okay with that.
That's fine.
Yep.
Okay. So let's see, public comment again. So we'll open the floor to any public comment. I don't think there's anybody else out there. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I move. So
I'll second.
Rick's second. All in favor, say aye.
I.
Aye.
All right, so meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for spending your time on this, and I guess it's really what we make of it, right? So the time we put in. So you okay with that, Jack? We're good to go?
Good to go. So I'll get it scheduled for the next meeting. I'll send out a calendar invite so everyone has it. And maybe I'll do 6 months at a time just so we have it on our calendars, and then we can adjust it forward or back if need be. And just for kind of a housekeeping too, our website, I'll send everyone the link to this meeting recording and also our meeting page. So we have set up a committee page for this committee. So you're on it just very generally. It doesn't have bios or anything too specifically. And then our agendas and minutes and everything will be posted there. So just a little bit of the formality of it.
Okay, great. And thanks, Catherine, for your research on this and getting things set up. Appreciate your time.
Problem.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. And Tom, thanks for accepting the chairmanship.
Yeah, I will. So, all right. Have a good day. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.